Well. If this isn't going to be a case study in what happens when you don't get the pick from the draft slot you think you want, this is our loser of the beer relay. He had the 10th pick gifted to him. He had no say in it. Mr. Shylbin, what does he do with that 10th pick? Travis Etienne. Boom. Great start considering basically this is the equivalent to the 12th pick because CMC and Tyreek Hill, maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown would have already been selected, but they're kept. So he's really picking like the 13th or 14th overall player, and he gets Travis Etienne, who last year had a regressing Jags team and finishes the RB3. I'll take that. Good start. Who's his keeper? Brees Hall. Freaking perfect. The 2.3, that's pretty early. In an ideal world, he could have had such a better draft. Imagine this guy wins the beer relay and he starts at the 101 or 102 or 103. He could have paired Justin Jefferson with Brees Hall, something that's literally impossible in any type of normal redraft league. But he doesn't. He gets stuck keeping Brees in the early second. He's still a value, but nowhere near the value he could have been. Personally, I was always going to be a little biased towards his team. Brees Hall is my number one fantasy player of the year. I think he should be the 101. I think he should be ahead of CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, even in PPR leagues. I think he's that good. I think the Jets O-line is that good. I don't think they want to lean on Aaron Rodgers until the end of the season in the playoffs. I think they want to keep Rodgers healthy. I think that means screen passes to Brees Hall, red zone work to Brees Hall, Brees Hall running 20 times a game, 25 times a game when they're up, Brees Hall breaking 80-yard touchdowns. So ETN Brees Hall, in my book, is about as good of a start as you can get in a fantasy football league. It's not all about the start, so what does he do after that? Well, Lamar Jackson, end of the third. That's a pretty good pick. Malik Neighbors is your wide receiver one, is very risky. But he comes back with George Kittle. Okay. Rome Odunze, Christian Watson, Brian Thomas, Brian Robinson, Jared Goff, Cole Kmet, Rashid Shaheed, Ricky Pearsall, Kimani Vidal. Worst pick for this team's Kittle. I want I want Kincaid over Kittle, and he just bummed it. It's right in front of his face, right? And he takes the veteran, the name recognition over the young hotness. Um, boy, oh boy, if he wouldn't have messed that one up, this team could have been insane. I don't love neighbors. I'd probably go Devontae Smith, maybe Rashi Rice over him, but I do think he might have been the best wide receiver on the board. He's a physical freak, supposedly, and he might get a lot of catches in that offense. Daniel Jones has on and off supported decent wide receivers before, and now there's no Saquon to take a bunch of carries every week, so maybe it works out. And now here's where he atones for his sins, though, because the worst pick was Kittle. The best picks are Brees and ETN, but his other best picks are Christian Watson and Brian Thomas. Boy, oh boy. For him to be start heavy wide receiver, sorry, for him to start heavy running back, take a quarterback early, he takes his tight end early, which again, I would undo that, but whatever. He takes his tight end early. And then for his wide receiver two, three, and four, all to be young guys with high upside, I love that. Not all these guys are going to hit, but the odds that two out of these four are very good, I think are very high. And I think they're all going to be good enough to fill in. I think they're all going to be good enough to start at flex. Um, and these are just all young guys that I'm high on. Like, I don't know. I think Rome's going to be the option, the number two option there. I think Christian Watson's going to be healthier this year. I think Brian Thomas is going to fill a big need for Trevor Lawrence, and they'll sync up better than he did with Calvin Ridley last year. So I see a lot of upside on this squad. I really do. Um, his only weakness is at the top end of his wide receiver room, and you could kind of argue his tight end. Kittle's probably going to play most middling tight ends to a draw every week, so he won't be at that big of a disadvantage. And he has his spike games. He's a very boomer bust tight end, right? And look at that. He's a top five tight end in the last few years. So I'm shitting on him, but I mean, look at what he's done. He stays healthy. He gives you those dud weeks of 7 and 4, and then he gives you those spike weeks when he scores of 20, 15, 18, right? So that's George Kittle, and that's an all-around pretty well-rounded squad. He's weak at wide receiver, but wide receivers are cheapest on the waiver wire usually, right? So best case for this team, Brees is the RB1, ETN repeats, Lamar does another MVP type thing. He gets some of his rookie wide receivers to emerge. Yeah, I didn't say anything there that was pretty outlandish, did I? All those things are pretty possible, or maybe we'll get close, right? Maybe Lamar's in the MVP, but maybe he's the QB 3 or 4, right? Instead of QB 1 or 2, whatever he was last year. It's pretty good. It's pretty good to pair Lamar with Brees if Brees does what I think he'll do. And then if he gets an emergence from some of these young wide receivers, wait till the end of the season. I don't think you're going to want to play Shylbin's team. Um, you could see by the end of the year, right? Say one of the other two Chicago wide receivers is banged up and Rome is the clear, semi-alpha. Christian Watson, what if he's Love's favorite target? Malik Neighbors, what if Daniel Jones isn't complete hot garbage and he figures out how to throw a deep route, right? The Giants were terrible when Odell Beckham Jr. emerged, right? In that offense. And then Brian Thomas, right? So I just see upside across the board. I don't love the back end of this draft. I don't really love Brian Robinson. Like, that's the worst case, right? I just went through all the best cases. The worst case is a couple people underperform. He doesn't have anyone to fill in. He can't sustain an injury to Etienne or Brees. He's screwed. He didn't handcuff him. Um, he would have done well to draft Bigsby, I think, at the 14-3 instead of Vidal. Um, he would have done well to. Where did Braylon Allen get drafted? Oh, yeah, right before he was able to in the 13th. So I'd probably rather have Braylon Allen than Shaheed if I was him, but I can't knock it. This is a tier 1 team, fellas. This is our best draft grade so far, an A minus. And I'll tell you, it's tied for the top draft grade in the league. There's only one other team that's able to match it in draft grade. Obviously, we only have 2 teams left. One of those 2 teams is going to match it. But yeah, this team's got championship upside, boys. It's got a pretty high floor, too. And I like what Shylbin did. Even though he might not have won the beer relay, he might have just won the draft. A minus, tier 1.